Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys checking today's video out and spending some time with me. Got a good one for y'all today. We're going to be talking about spinnerbait fishing during the pre-spawn period of the year, which in my opinion, guys, this is the #1 way to catch big fish. I've caught more bass over 7 pounds on a spinnerbait during the pre-spawn than any other technique, any other deal that I've ever been using. So I've got about 5 or 6 different spinnerbaits set up here. I'm going to show you my favorite pre-spawn setups, the modifications on them, how to fish them, colors, everything. It's going to be a really good deal for you guys. And thank you guys, if you haven't had a lot of success on spinnerbaits, or even if you had, it's really going to help you guys out from some things that I've figured out, over the course of fishing a spinnerbait for 40 or 50 years. Also, guys, before we get started, just a couple of quick daily housekeeping tips. Just wanted to invite everybody to please check out my spring Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns. These are great resources if you want to get familiar and find some good fishing places on your favorite lake this spring. I'll link that in the description of the video here. And also, guys, please check out Solarbat sunglasses. We got 30% off on them this entire month on both my RB2 and 3 series. So I'll link that in the description as well. Much appreciated there, guys. Okay, like I said, the spinnerbait has accounted for more big ones than any other lure out there. As far as, I would put a big spinnerbait in the pre-spawn, #1, followed up by a full-size jig in the pre-spawn as #2, as far as catching those big ones, those 7, pound class fish. So I want to sort of go over some of my favorite setups here, and I'm sort of going to explain each one of these spinnerbaits, the conditions they work in the best, and give you guys some good juice on that. Now, one of the things about spinnerbait fishing in the pre-spawn, it's all about water temperatures being in the 50s. That is the magical zone. If I could give you guys one perfect scenario for what we're going to talk about today, you want water temperatures right around 55 degrees. It helps if you have some type of an overcast or wind. That really helps out. It also helps out if you have some type of a prefrontal condition or air temperatures normal or just a little bit above normal, because all those conditions combine, the 55 degree water, the clouds, the wind, the average temperatures, that makes bass aggressive and want to hit these larger lures that we're talking about today, in correlation with the fact that during the pre-spawn, the bait fish, the gizzard shad and the threadfin shad, are larger than they've been all year long. So that's why the big spinnerbaits we're going to be talking about today are highly effective. Okay, so anyway, let's just go through a few of these. I'm going to show you, some of my favorites and sort of explain the situations I use them in, each one of them here. Now, this is probably my favorite as far as, overall. If I can get them to bite this one I'm going to talk about here, it's this big 3/4 or 1 ounce large profile spinnerbait with a number 6 or number 7 gold willow leaf blade on it. Also, guys, I'll put my spinnerbait link in my Tackle Warehouse description if you guys want to order some of these big spinnerbaits, along with the blades, because these are Hildebrandt blades. I'll link these in the description too. Most of these spinnerbaits that you buy out of the store, they don't come with big enough blades on them. And Hildebrandt makes the best blade. I buy them at Tackle Warehouse just like you guys do. But out of all the blades, guys, this is the best blade to use for the big one, big Hildebrandt blade. So I'll link all that in the description. But here's my favorite setups. 3/4 ounce, number 6, number 7 willow leaf, little Colorado in front of it. And normally for this situation, I'm using some type of a rib swim bait. This is the Zoom Z swim here, Kitech or whatever. But these rib swim baits on these big spinnerbaits really help create bulk on the spinnerbait. Helps to keep them, where they can, slow roll them a little bit better without them, coming up. But I normally put, that 3.5 inch rib swim bait on as a trailer here. And another thing, guys, I do not like using a trailer hook unless I absolutely have to. It's been my experience when you fish a trailer hook on a spinnerbait, it reduces the number of strikes you get. This has been through lots of trial and error, watching lots of Jimmy Houston videos. And say, for example, if I'm practicing with a spinnerbait that does not have a trailer hook on it, if I catch 20 fish, if I put a trailer hook on this thing, the number of bites that I get is going to be reduced probably 25% or more. And so therefore I don't like using a trailer hook, because you're slow rolling these baits. And see, these fish, it's not like, they have to dart out and get it. They have plenty of time to get it. Plus another thing about it is this is a big bait, so you got to move a lot of mass on it, and I just think that single hook helps hook those fish a little bit better. But this is my favorite scenario here. Now the place that I like to use this big 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce with the big blade is either over some type of submergent grass beds in the pre-spawn, which I know there's not a lot of water like that, but if you do have a lake that has, you know, submerged milfoil or hydrilla, this is going to be a really good choice, slow rolling it over the top of that grass. But in traditional man-made impoundments, I'm usually slow rolling this big spinnerbait down steeper pre-spawn banks. So I'll get on those 45 and 60 degree angle rocky banks or even bluffy banks, throw that spinnerbait up to the bank, let it hit the bottom and just slow roll it, just like the saying says, slow rolling the spinnerbait, trying to keep it, you know, just about, you know, 6 inches to a foot off the bottom. You don't want to throw this thing in the mid part of the water column. I'm really wanting to target with this big one here that water depth of sort of 3 to 6 feet on those rocky areas. So that's sort of what you need to focus in on. 45 degree angle cast to those bank, really good setup. Another thing on this big spinnerbait, it requires sort of a specialty tackle setup. I throw it on a flipping stick. Excuse me. Flipping stick with 20 to 25 pound test Seaguar and Vizex line. And the reason I use a flipping stick is this is a big bait. This bait weighs over an ounce with the trailer on it. But the main thing is when you get a big one, say you get a big 7-pounder comes up and gets this thing and smashes that wire down, you got a lot in the way to prevent that hook from getting in that fish's mouth. So a flipping stick will give you that extra power with the heavy line to drive that hook into the fish. So that's a good setup there. Okay, my next setup is sort of along the same line here, but this is for a little bit more off-colored water. The willow leaf will work in a diversity of different water clarities, but I prefer it in water clarity of like over 2 foot. Now, if I'm getting into water visibility of under 2 foot in the pre-spawn, that's when I'm going to the Colorado. This is a number 7 Hildebrandt Colorado blade single. I've got it on a 3/4 ounce head. And I really do, guys, like the living rubber skirt on some of these baits, especially in the dirty water. This is just a living rubber skirt. I'll also link my skirt link in the description of the Tackle Warehouse link if you want to try some. But there's something about the living rubber or the vinyl type skirt that in dirty water, it just gets you more bites. I think it's because the flat rubber, it glows a little bit more in that dirty water. So on the same thing here, I'm putting the same rib swim bait on it. And this, like I said, I'm going to be fishing it pretty similar situations, except that when you're fishing the single spin Colorado like this in that dirtier water, a lot of times those fish are going to be a little bit shallower. So again, if you got water temperatures around 55 degrees, this is going to be a good choice on those flatter areas. The flatter areas would have a little bit more off-colored water, and you can also catch some fish on wood around this. The big willow leaf works better on rock, but this is really good, like reeling it next to a dock post, lay down tree, stump in the water. On rocks too can be really good. But I usually like to use the big Colorado around some type of a shallow target. So main difference between these two is water clarity. Under 2 foot clarity, over 2 foot clarity with the willow leaf, but they're gonna work in very similar situations. And also, every one of these spinnerbaits I'm talking about is geared to when that water temperature is around 55 degrees. You can, as far as slow rolling the spinnerbait, I sort of put it in that, 50 to 60 degree range is going to be the best for pre-spawn. And the closer you get to sort of that, mid 50 degree temperature, it seems like it's a little bit better. Now here's a little bit of a specialty one here, guys, that you're going to have to make yourself. This is an old Ozark special. This is a tandem copper bladed spinnerbait. It's a little bit smaller blades. It's got probably number 6 copper blade on it. It's got a little bit larger on the front there. These cupped copper blades with the green and yellow skirt. This is sort of like an Ozark staple here. And in the pre-spawn period of the year, guys, I've caught a lot of fish on this for years. This thing has been catching fish in Missouri for 40 or 50 years. But this type of a situation is a little bit more for cleaner water. Even though it doesn't look like a clear water bait, in the pre-spawn this is. So what I like to do with it is I like to fish this dual copper bladed one a little bit shallower and move it a little bit faster through the water column. So it has to do with sort of the mood and aggressiveness with fish. But I have found if you get a day out there where it's cloudy and really windy, and again, the water temperature is sort of in the mid to upper 50s, you can take this double Colorado copper bladed with this green and yellow skirt like this, and you can sort of fish it fast on those rocky banks if you've got wind hitting it. Now this is a very situational thing, because in order for this to work, you've got to have some days that are either normal or above normal temperatures, some type of falling barometric pressure, again, low light conditions and clear water. If you get those combinations in, this is sort of a secret deal that has been working forever, and you'll just have to make one of these up, guys. Just try to, I'll put my blade link in the description. Just get you some, try to order some just copper like this, and you'll just have to make them up yourself. Okay, and finally, this is a sort of a technique that's a little bit different than the bigger spinner baits. This is a smaller spinnerbait pre-spawn situation for shallow grass. This is the Megabass SD3 here, little small willow leaf blades. And guys, in the pre-spawn, if you have a lake that has shallow grass in it, like you guys that fish Lake Eufaula in Alabama, like that shallow gator grass or water willows, any type of shallow hydrilla, lily pad stems, like you guys that fish Lake Seminole or any place that has the dead lily pads, in the pre-spawn, when that water temperature gets in the 50s, those fish will move into that shallow, dirty water in that real shallow vegetation. And they get in water like 2 to 3 foot deep. My favorite, again, is probably like lily pad stems or just whatever shallow, submergent grasses in the lake you fish, if you have grass. And try just slow rolling a little smaller spinnerbait, like a little shad spinnerbait with smaller willow leaves through that shallow vegetation. If you have a lake like that does have the shallow vegetation, you're not going to do as well on that big spinnerbait. The water it's shallower, the fish they're just not quite as aggressive in that flat, shallow cover, and they prefer a little bit smaller spinnerbait. But overall, guys, if I could give you one piece of advice, set you up this deal right here. Get you a big willow leaves, number 6, number 7, 3/4 ounce, 1 ounce spinnerbait, and just slow roll it on those real nasty type days in the springtime of year. Great way to catch big ones. So hope it helps out. We'll see you.